Hi, my name's Charlie Bloomfield from Brewery at Canowindra. We operate a sheep and grazing enterprise, a bit of cropping. We've got 2,200 acres here, at least a couple other places, and total running about 15,000 DSE. When we first moved to Canowindra, we built an automated feedlot to use for performance feeding, but also for spike feeding ewes and early weaning of lambs. Our feedlot's a 4,000 head feedlot located near our yards. It's an automated delivery system with 4 commodity inputs, and water and yards and shade we all built ourselves. The key design of the feedlot is the automation to make it labour efficient, and then we've built the troughs ourselves out of heavy duty PVC, mainly due to cost, but also each one contains a very small amount of water. So every time we clean the trough, we're not wasting much water, but it's very quick to clean them as well. We built our own shade in the feedlots just with big shade sails from Bunnings, and worked out that we think that there actually is decent heat loading in sheep, and the way they're functioning in the pens means they're cycling between shade, water and feed all through the day and moving throughout the pen, not just camping up in any given area. At the start of the drought, we learned a lot of lessons about putting sheep in confinement and what we could do in terms of spelling paddocks and dialing in the nutrition of stock during drought and giving them exactly what they need for maintenance, and looking after those perennial pastures and any herbages and things we had.
There's some nutritional benefits by bringing them into confinement and stopping them walking around paddocks and the like. We're sort of picking up a nutritional gain somewhere in the vicinity of sort of 5 to 14%, depending on the situations and conditions. Really important to pick your site. Water's a critical one. Really important that you're getting your water right. Obviously, if you bring them in, you've got to have that water, good flows and volume of water, but also the quality of the water. So sometimes it does involve cleaning water regularly, and managing that water supply is very important.
Usually we're feeding stock predominantly when it's dry, so people don't often think about access and feeding in wet weather, but that's really important as well. So a lot of the things we think about when we're looking at a site are actually around drainage. So we want a site that's got good slope, ideally got a good base underneath, so a rocky hard sort of knob is a good area up the slope. Where is the water from that site going to drain to? Making sure that we're not getting too close to creeks or waterways where we can have effluent or runoff from your confinement area heading into there. But it's all around access. The closer it is to your stockyards, to your feeding facilities, so sheds, silos, silage pits, all of those types of things, that'll reduce the amount of time it takes to feed cattle or sheep. It'll reduce the amount of time it takes to take a sick animal potentially from out of your confinement feeding area. If it can be close to the yards, that makes that whole process a lot easier and a lot more efficient. But it also means that your confinement feeding area can be used at other times of the year. So, you might use it for weaning stock, whether they're sheep or cattle. You might use it as holding pens before shearing or the like. So the more we can use these facilities for other practices on farm, the better it often is. So by having it in a convenient place, near yards, near your feed storages, that makes it a lot easier.
One of the big benefits we saw in the drought in the past was all of a sudden people were bringing them in, they weren't having to feed each and every day, it wasn't taking them as long to get out to all these different paddocks. There was a mental health side of it, that the people were able to manage things better and were managing themselves as well as the animals better. There's some base fundamental principles when we look at confinement feeding. Be aware of the amount of trough space that's required. We talk about, as sheep needing, mature ewe needing 30 centimetres of trough space. We talk about how many animals in a mob. All these base fundamentals underpin what we're sort of talking about when we're looking at confinement feeding. Really is important to get some information, make sure you get the right information. Also, the other thing I would recommend is that people actually get out and about and have a look at what other people have done.
I enjoy what we're doing, and I just saw an opportunity for feeding sheep for performance, but also as part of husbandry and dialing in our nutrition. And there just wasn't anything available when I started doing it. So I developed all these resources ourselves. So I get a lot of questions from people and visits to our property looking at the feedlot. So we developed a range of tools, and I suppose I just wish I had them when I started. So we developed them and made them accessible for other people.